All right, good evening. I left you last time with a question about the previous sugya, so I found an answer. Halivni gives an answer, and I have an alternate answer. So let me just repeat the question. It's good repetition anyway because we're going to need this information for the tonight's stuff. And in any case, question was as follows. Here's the case. Itemar achal shene zete cheleb elim echad. Let's say on Sunday, I ate two kizetot of cheleb, right? One, and then another one. And then on Monday, my wife says, "Oh, you ate that piece of fat. That was cheleb." I said, "Oh no, I have to bring a korban." Okay, so I have in mind I'm going to bring one korban. Then Tuesday, she said, "You ate the other one also. That was also cheleb." Now on Tuesday, I say, "Oh no, I have to bring another korban." The question is it two or one? Rabbi Yochanan says, Chayav Shetayim, because the realization was at two different times, I have to bring two korbanot. Resh Lakish says, no, it doesn't matter. Just one korban for both, because I ate them both within the same lapse, and just because I realized at two different times, so what? Right? So I only bring one. That was machlok. Rabbi Yochanan says two, Resh Lakish says one. Okay, then we went on yesterday, and each one brings a pasuk, and then we ask, how come one doesn't use the pasuk of the other one? And then Ravina asks Rav Asher, what about a case when Sunday I ate two of them, then Monday my wife says, oh, the first one you ate was chelib. I said, oh no, I have to bring korban chatat. I go out to my backyard and I go get an animal. I said, this is going to be my korban. I set it aside. And then on Tuesday, she says, oh, the other one was also chelib, right? And then would even in that case, Resh Lakish say only one? For sure, Rabbi Yochanan would say I have to bring two korbanot, just like the first one. But in that case, where I actually designated animal, would he even say it there or not? And that was the discussion. So, so that we have a whole discussion. And so is it this way or is it that way? And then this is Amar Le. The question was from Rav Asher. And so Rav Asher answers, oh, he would have argued in that case also. And it brings a proof based on, this proof here is based on this discussion of the Pisukim. Now, this discussion of the Pisukim is by the Stamai de Gemara. It's right by anonymous. They're saying, what would Rav Shakish say? What would Rabbi Yochanan say? And over here, it looks like Rav Asher is answering Ravina with the assumption of that discussion already in mind. So it looks like the Amoraim know the discussion of the anonymous layer. And there's a question for scholars because people like Professor Alivni generally assume that the anonymous layer is after the Amoraim. So how could the Amoraim here seem like they know the anonymous discussion? That was our question yesterday. Livni addresses this in his commentary. And he says, well, if you notice, if you look in the manuscripts, all the manuscripts have the words Amar Le over there, except for one, and that is the Vatican, the Vatican manuscript. So that's what he says. I went to check the Vatican manuscript. In fact, if you look at it carefully, says here Amar Le mistabera, but the words Amar Le are erased. They're just partially erased, so you can still read them. So it does indicate that those words should not be there, and although they were in the original, and then someone took them out. So if we go back here, that solves his problem. Ravina asks Rav Asher a question, but he never answered it. It's the anonymous editors that are answering for him, and so they're the ones this is like an even later anonymous using the previous discussion. But you have to take out the words Amar Le for that to work, which really doesn't work so well because it is in all the other manuscripts. So an alternate solution is to say, even though it says Amar Le, it could still mean that the editors added in Amar Le, and Rav Asher didn't really say this. That's also a little weak. I have yet another answer, I would say as follows. Rav Asher did in fact say, Mistabera ben bezo machloket, period. But that's the end of his words. The rest of it, the explanation, might be from the Stama de Gemara. Right? So maybe the Amoraim, I'm sure they said a lot of things, but what was recorded is only the one line, and then the further explanation is by the anonymous layer. And that's I think a better way to resolve the problem and still remain that Amoraim come first and the anonymous layer comes after. All right, that was a scholarly aside, and you can ignore that if you want. But I'd like to now start the next sugya. This sugya, we don't have a lot of pictures. There's not a lot of hard words or anything. So rather than use the Korean English, I am going to use my own word file, if that's okay with you. Good?
Mhm.
All right. I made it all nice and structured. Tonight we have two topics. One is Asham. Beforehand, we've been talking about Korban Hatat. Tonight we're going to talk about Korban Asham. That's Amud Aleph. And Amud Bet is going to be talking about Mit Asek, when you're unaware. So also different kinds of mistakes. We're talking about mistakes where you have some idea that you're doing something. This is you're completely unaware that you're even doing an action that might even be prohibited at all. Okay, so very interesting things that we're going to see. We've been discussing a korban chatat, which is a female animal, and a korban chatat is only brought for a mistake. It's a very important principle in the Torah. You can't go and do something on purpose. I say, okay, I'll bring a korban, right, to take care of it. It's only a negligent mistake. That's korban chatat. Korban asham, however, works differently. Korban asham is only for a few specific areas. One is gezelot, if I steal and lie about it. Me'ilot, if I go and use something from the Bet HaMikdash for personal use. I go and take a goblet and I use it, or I take some meat that's hekdesh and I use it for myself. That I have to bring an asham me'ilah. The third one is asham shivcha harufa. We had that in Parasha Kedoshim a few weeks ago. If someone has relations with a betrothed maidservant, in other words, a shivcha kena'anit who is married to an eved ivri, so the marriage is not a full marriage halachically, so therefore it's not quite adultery, but it does require if someone else goes and sleeps with that shivcha charufa, that he has to bring an asham me'ilot. What's interesting about this asham is that whether it's on purpose or by mistake, he has to bring the asham, even if he did it on purpose, right? So that's different from most. The asham is a male ayil, so different from a chatat. And the last kind of asham is called asham talui. This is brought on anything that you would normally bring a chatat, except it's talui. You're not sure if you did it or not. I ate some piece of meat and I don't know whether it was kosher or non-kosher meat. I just don't know, right? Because one there, the other one got thrown in the garbage, and I have no way of finding out. So I want to bring something. I can't bring korban hatat because korban hatat is only if I did it by mistake, but then I realize and I know for sure. So instead, you'd bring an asham talui. Okay, that's the background that we need. And now we start with the first case. Amad ola leman amad asham vadai lo baya yedi'ah betechila. Well, okay, hold on. We need some background for this too. We have a case. If there's two pieces of meat, one's hekdesh, it's an animal sacrifice, and one's regular kosher meat. I ate one of them, and then I thinking that they were both okay. Afterwards, I found out that one of them was hekdesh, but I'm not sure if that's the one I ate or not the one I ate. Now, if it is the one I ate, it's hekdesh. That's called me'ilah, right? That's violates this. So if I definitely ate hekdesh, I have to bring a nasham me'ilot. But since I don't know, I have to bring an asham talui. So Rabbi Akiva says, standard procedure. I bring an asham talui now, and then if and when I should find out which piece of meat it was, and I find out, or in fact it was the hekdesh, then I would bring an asham me'ilot for that. Okay. Good. So that's Rabbi Akiva. So for Rabbi Akiva, it works the same as a korban chatat. I bring in a talui now, and then when I know for sure, I bring the appropriate one. Rabbi Tarfon, however, says, hold it. What am I bringing now? An asham. That's a male ayil. That's a talui. What would I bring if I knew for sure? A male ayil. It's the same animal. So you know what? He says, just skip to the end. I'm going to bring an asham now for whatever it's for. If I'm not sure, it'll be an asham talui. If I ever find out that it was in fact hekdesh, then I'll consider what I brought an asham me'ilot. Got that? Right? Brilliant. Okay. So in other words, for the bitarfon, I don't need to have a realization in order to be chayav a korban asham. I could bring the korban asham as an asham me'ilot, and it will work even after I realize. So realization does not trigger the need for the korban. This is different from what we said before regarding chatat. Regarding chatat, we always said there has to be a realization first, right? Like we said, the first case we discussed today, I had two kezetot, right, and realized one that triggers a korban chatat. I realized another one that triggers another korban chatat. So Bitalfon says I don't need realization for Asham Vadai. Asham Vadai means these first three categories as opposed to Asham Talui. Here's where I know I for sure did it. Asham Talui when I don't know that I did it. Okay, now we're ready. Omar Ula. According to the one who says, and Asham Vadai, any of these three, does not require knowledge, realization in order to bring the korban. So whose opinion is that? That's to be Tarfon, right? He says, I don't need realization, I can bring it now. What would he say? What would Bitarfon say about this case? Baal Hamesh Be'ilot B'Shivcha Charufa Eno Chayav Ela Achat. Remember the Shivcha Charufa case? Let's say I sinned, right, with her, then I had a realization, then sinned again, realization. So I did this 5 times. So you might think, well, if it was a regular Korban Chatat, every realization requires yet another Korban, right? If I ate a kezait of chelib, and then realized it's 1 korban, then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th korban. But regarding shivcha charufa, I wouldn't have to because asham does not need realization. So realization does not trigger it. So therefore, he can sin 5 times and only bring 1 asham. Okay. Matkifla Rab Hamnuna. Hamnuna asks a question on him or rejects him. Ela me'ata ba'al ve'chazaru ba'al. What if a slightly different case? He had relations with that shivcha charufa. Then he realized that by mistake. Then he realized that it was not allowed. And then he did it again by mistake. And then he says, oh, that was not good. And so he brings a korban, right? He puts this korban on the side. I'm going to bring this as my asham. And then he says, Hamtinu li ad she'eb'ol. He says, wait a second. Before I sacrifice this korban, let me get one more sin in, right? While I'm at it. So, hachi named eno chayav el achat. And even in that case, would you agree that he can have multiple sins, yet only one sacrifice, even though he designated an animal in between? Amar le, Ula responds, Maaseh de lachal haflasha ka'amart. Maaseh de lachal haflasha la ka'amina. You brought a completely different case, where he actually designated an animal. Designating an animal will make a stop. And so as designating animals for these 2 sins. But for the one he does after that, no, then he's going to have to bring another animal. It's not like the case that I said, where it was only realization. Okay, very good. Now, when Rav Dimi came, he comes from Eretz Yisrael. He's always bringing Torah from there. Ki ata Rav Dimi amar, leman amar asham vadai ba'e yedi'ah batechila. Who says that? Who is the opinion that says that asham vadai, these 3 types of korbanot, do require knowledge? Well, that's Rabbi Akiva, right? He says that you do require knowledge, and that's why you could bring in Hashem Talui now, but you're gonna have to bring in Hashem Me'ilot afterwards, right? So because it requires knowledge in order to bring one of these. So according to him, Baal, same case, Baal Chamesh Be'ilot B'Shivcha Charufa. If I did sin 5 times, and I realized each time, Chayav al kol achat ve'achat. Then I have to bring korban each time, because when I sin once and then realize, that triggers a korban asham vadai, and the next 2nd one triggers another one, so I have to bring 5 of them. Okay, so that's a practical difference between what they say here and this case. Okay, good. Amale Abaye hare hatat de ba'aynan yedi'ah betechila upeligi Rabbi Yochanan v'Shimon ben Lakish. Says, hold on, are you so sure about that? What your essence is saying, you're saying is that Rabbi Akiva's opinion regarding Hashem Talui, Rabbi Akiva's opinion regarding Hashem Me'ilot, Hashem Vadai, that you have to have realization, makes his Hashem the same as Chatat, right? For both Hashem and Chatat, according to Rabbi Akiva, you need to have realization first. And so therefore, let's compare it. Regarding Chatat, we had a machloket over there, because there was a machloket between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, which we just read. Rabbi Yochanan says you need two on every realization. And the Shakish says, if you had realizations after realization, you combine them all, and you only need one. So actually, this case, even according to the Rebbe Akiva, would depend on the machloket between Rabbi Yochanan and the Shakish. So he was quiet. He didn't have an answer. Amar le, Abaye helps him out and says, Dilma b'maaseh de lachad aflasha ka'amart, uchad Rav Hamnuna, amar le'in. This is, when you said your halacha, did you actually mean this case? When he had a realization, and then he designated a sacrifice, and then he sinned again, and that's when you have to bring multiple shamot? This is, you're right, that was in fact the case that I meant. And but if it was the previous case, this one, then even according to Bekiva, it's not so clear. It would depend on what the Resh Lakish and Yochanan say about Hatat. Okay, one more visitor comes. Ki ata Rabin Amar, Hakol modim b'shivcha charufa, v'akol modim b'shivcha charufa, u'machloket b'shivcha charufa. He comes and brings this riddle. Okay, so this is fun, easy to remember, but hard to figure out what he means. So then he elaborates. Hakol modim b'shivcha charufa. There is a case in which everyone agrees regarding this betrothed maidservant. They all agree that eno chayav ela achat kedeula. Everybody would agree in this case that that one brings only one for all, according to ula. And everybody agrees. Everybody agrees in the case of Ram Hamnuna. This case, if I designate a sacrifice in the middle, that I have to bring multiple, right? So that's clear. According to the second opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who says that I do need knowledge and to trigger an Asham Vadai. In that case, if it was like this, it would depend on the machloket between Rabbi Yochanan and Shakish. So in other words, when Rabin came, he confirmed what we figured out on our own before when Avdimi came. Even though Avdimi didn't have the full picture, Rabin came and filled it out. And so now we took care of both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon, and we applied their two statements to these two different cases, and we filled out all the possibilities. And that's the end of Amud Aleph. So now we go to Amud Bet, which is a new subject, which is called Mit Asek. This is actually very practical throughout Shabbat. This is like when you're walking and down the street, and by walking you trigger a motion detector, and a light goes on in someone's driveway, right? And so what are you going to do? You're not going to walk there. This is a mitasek. I didn't have. Not only did I have in mind, I didn't have in mind to turn on the light. I didn't know the light was there. I'm just walking, right? And so it's not like where well, we'll see example now where I cut something that I thought I was allowed to cut, but I really wasn't allowed to cut, where there's some question, mitasek. So it comes up very often. So let's see how the Talmud deals with it. Itmar. Let's say I'm outside, I drop a knife on the floor. So I go down to pick up the knife, which is permitted, right? It's talush. The knife is not attached to the ground. But on the way, I cut some grass that was connected to the ground. In that case, patur. I don't have to bring, it's not only a mistake, it's less than a mistake. I don't have to even bring a korban hatat. Okay? Because I had in mind simply to pick up the knife, not in mind to cut anything at all. But what about a similar case? Let's say I'm outside and I say I'm going to cut this carrot, right? Because I want to slice it up for my salad. And then I cut it and I realize the carrot was connected to the ground. That's hard to do. Carrots grow down. All right, tomato. Right? And I cut it. And then I thought it was a loose tomato. Turns out the tomato was connected to the ground. So it's a mistake, right? But it's not quite the same as the first one. Rava Amar Patur. Rava says, even in this case, you didn't have in mind, you were mitasek, you were just cutting the tomato, you knew it's Shabbat, you knew it's not allowed to cut things, and you just thought you were cutting a tomato. Abaye says, no, chayav, because you were cutting a tomato, it's still doing the act of cutting, and so it's a little bit more negligent. It's more similar to actually doing the melacha. Of course, it's a mistake. So you bring a korban hatat. That's Abaye. Ravas is patur. Okay. Rava Amar patur. Rava says, I didn't have in mind to cut something in a prohibited way, so therefore it's not my fault. It's nothing. Abaye Amar chayav dak michaven lachaticha ba'alma. Still, you had in mind to cut something, therefore chayav. So they're getting very fine distinctions of what is the definition of mitasek, of being unaware. How unaware do you have to be? Very good. That's Rava. Amar Rava, mina amin ala. Rava says, I want to bring a proof. Anything that's from a Tanaitic source, I put in bold. So he's proving it from a baraita. Okay, we're going to see this. The proof from the baraita is rather long, and even by the end, it doesn't really prove his opinion. So don't look for the proof so much. The baraita is interesting on its own. The Tanya, Homer Shabbat mishar mitzvot, v'chomer shar mitzvot mishabat. There's one way in which Shabbat is more stringent than other mitzvot, and there's another way in which other mitzvot are more stringent than Shabbat. This is like another one of the riddles that Rabin brought. You know, bring a general category, then you got to figure out how it fits in. So how so? Homer Shabbat mishar mitzvot. Shabbat is more stringent because on Shabbat, asa shetayim be'elem echad chayav al kol achat ve'achat. If I did two melachot, like I cut and I ground wheat, in one forgetfulness, I have to bring both, right? In other words, if the forgetfulness, I forgot all the melachot, and so I can bring two chataot on two actions of forgetfulness. Mashen ken b'sham mitzvot, but not so other mitzvot. In other mitzvot, I would bring only one. We'll see what this means. Chomesh mitzvot Shabbat, and other mitzvot are more stringent than Shabbat, because regarding other mitzvot, shagag belo mitkaven hayab. And other mitzvot, if I made a mistake without any knowledge at all, in other words, unaware, mitasek, I still have to bring a korban. Mashen ken b'Shabbat, but not on Shabbat. If I'm mitasek, I don't have to bring a korban at all. So let's analyze this. Amar Mor, you just said, let's say the first statement, Homer Shabbat Misham Misvot Shabbat Asa Shetayim Be'elem Echad Chayav Al Kol Achat Ve'Achat Mashkim B'Sham Misvot Hechidami. What is the case in which that you're talking about? In which on Shabbat you would have to bring two korbanot for one lapse of knowledge, and in other mitzvot that would not be true. If I did two melachot, I cut and I ground. Well, a similar case regarding other commandments is if I ate chelib and I ate blood, and that would also be two. We'd have to bring two korbanot. So that's not a good case. They're equally stringent in both of those cases. Let's try again. What would be a case of other mitzvot where I only bring one for two things? I ate chelib and then more chelib, two kezetot. That doesn't work either, because the equivalent on Shabbat would be I cut twice. If you cut twice within one lapse, not knowing that cutting is not allowed, I also bring only one korban. So it's the same. Okay, now we're going in circles. All right, I'll try again. We'll go back to the original. I did two actions on Shabbat, and I bring two korbanot. It can apply regarding idolatry. If I go to an idol and I slaughter an animal and I burn the animal and I pour the libation for it, and all that is done within one lapse of knowledge. In other words, I thought that I didn't know that this was an idol. I thought this was allowed. I only bring one korban for all those three actions. And so here's a case where regarding Shabbat, I can do two actions and have to bring two korbanot. But in Avodah Zarah, a similar case, I could do three actions and I only bring one korban. And so in this sense, Shabbat is more stringent than Avodah Zarah, which is one example of another mitzvah. All right, fine. We found a solution. Now we have to apply the solution to the second half of the baraita. That's how this is going to work. You see, we have more tries here. במה יוקמתה בעבודה זרה הם אספה חומר בשם מצוות שבשם מצוות שגג ולא מתכוון חייב מה שאין כן בשבת. היי שגג ולא מתכוון בעבודה זרה הכי דמה. So now we have to find a way in which other mitzvot, and we already said the other mitzvah is about idolatry. I mean, the first half and second half of the Braita should match. And then we're going to say they don't match. But right now we're trying to make them match. And so, in what is a case where, regarding idolatry, shagag b'lo mitkaven, if I did it unawares, if I did idolatry unawares, I'm hayav. And regarding Shabbat, if I do it unaware, then I'm patur. What's a case like that? How could you do avodah zarah totally unaware? I go into a building. I thought it was a bet knesset. And so I prayed there. I bowed down. I said the Amidah. Turns out, no, it was an idolatrous place. This could happen. You know, when you go to Spain, there's a lot of the old Batei Knesset were turned into churches, but they still have the Hebrew and everything around the side, right? So it's possible you might make a mistake. Hold this. So is that the case? But you intended to pray to God, so you didn't actually violate idolatry. So this is not a good case because you didn't violate anything. It's even less than unaware. What you did was perfectly fine. I don't know, perfectly fine. I don't know if you can do it. But the point is, you didn't do anything that could violate idolatry that you can even possibly bring a korban chatat. So that's not a good case. Maybe you saw a statue of a king. There's lots of statues of kings all over, you see. And you bow down to it. So what's specifically the case? If you consider that king to be a god, you see, Ramses, who was considered a god, bow down to a statue, then that's on purpose. You thought he was a god, you bow down to it as a god, then that doesn't fit the criteria. If you don't think it's a god, so you just bow down to a statue of a person. So that's not idolatry. So then it doesn't even fit within the realm of idolatry, but unawares. It's not idolatry at all. Rather, it's a case where I did bow down. I knew this was an idol, and I bowed down to it, knowing it was an idol, but I didn't do it as to honor the idol. I did it out of fear. Maybe someone's threatening me, or out of love, I wanted to impress someone who I thought, maybe a girlfriend who likes that idolatry, and she would be impressed if I did this. And so I am doing it, and I know that I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it out of respect for the idol. I'm doing it unaware, kind of like for a different reason. Okay, let's see if that works. That would work for the opinion of Abaye somewhere else, not this Abaye here, but rather Abaye elsewhere says that worshipping idolatry is still chayav. Is chayav a korban. But Rava, and this whole thing was brought by Rava to prove his point, right up here. And he says that if you worship idolatry out of love or fear, you don't bring a korban at all. So this would not be a good case where other mitzvot are more chamor than Shabbat. Other mitzvot, you do bring a korban. We need a case where for idolatry, you do bring a korban. So a fourth try. Ela be'omer mutar. This is talking about a case where someone thinks that idolatry is allowed. Maybe he's a convert. Maybe he grew up as he was born among non-Jews and never learned about idolatry, so he thought it was allowed. Similar to the case of someone who doesn't know anything about Shabbat. So mashen ken b'Shabbat patur legamre. So here, idolatry, he thinks it's allowed, but it's not allowed. So it's unawares, and he would be chayav. Not so in Shabbat. If he doesn't know anything about Shabbat, patur. Wait a second, that's not true either. Ad kan lo ba'amine Rava merav Nachman ela id lechiyub chada id lechiyub bet tarte aber miftere legamre la. We said regarding Shabbat already that if I didn't know it was Shabbat and I do multiple things or one, I bring one korban. And back 2 dapim ago, there was a question that Rava asked Rav Nachman about what if I don't know it's Shabbat and I don't know the melachot, and then I do multiple melachot, right? Do I bring one or multiple? That was the question. But everyone agrees you bring at least one. So this can't be a case because in this case, maybe you would be chayav for idolatry, but we'd also have to bring a korban for Shabbat. So we give up on trying to have them match, and we say the first half is in fact talking about idolatry. That's the case we mentioned. The second half we cannot find in the case of idolatry that you would do unawares in which it would work. Okay, so the second half now we're open and we can use that, find anything. So what's done here? V'shagag be'lo mitkaven b'sham mitzvot hechidami. So tell me, what would be a case of other mitzvot besides Shabbat where I'm not mitkaven, I'm unaware, and yet I would be chayav to bring a korban? Tesabur deshomen hu va'achalo. מה שאין כן בשבת פטור. דנתכוון לחתוך את התלוש וחתך את המחובר פטור. I could have it in a case where I eat something that I thought was shuman. Shuman is permitted fat. I took fat and I ate it. I thought it was okay. Yet, even though I was just eating, I wasn't doing anything bad. I was just eating lunch. I took it out of the fridge. It looked okay. So, and that yet in that case, even though I'm unawares, I still have to bring a korban, which is not true regarding Shabbat, because in Shabbat, if I meant to cut a tomato that was already detached, and turns out it was attached, patur, I don't have to bring a korban at all. And so this is the case, finally, of chomer b'shar mitzvot. In the case of eating forbidden fat, I would have to bring a korban, whereas a similar case regarding Shabbat is patur. And that's the end of the proof that Rava brings for his opinion up here that says, in this case, when I cut the tomato, I thought it was not attached, it was attached, that he says patur. So here's a case. Okay. Now what about Abaye? What would he do with this baraita? He has to find the case also. It can't be this case because here he says chayav, and that would be the same as the chelib. So he can find the case too. How about Abaye? Shagag belo mitkaven hechidameh. What would be a case like that regarding other mitzvot? The sabur roku ubela'ah. Let's say a person, he felt something in his mouth, he thought it was just saliva, and he swallowed the saliva. And turns out, no, it was not saliva, it was some melted fat that was prohibited fat. Okay, so there he wasn't even doing an act of eating, swallowing his own saliva. That's like for sure nothing you ought to totally unawares. You can't blame him at all. Yet even in that case, if regarding chelib, he has to bring a korban. Right? Even if he had no idea he was doing it, he was swallowing, he still has to bring a korban. Mashen ken b'Shabbat patur, tintkaven lagvi et hatalush v'chatach et hamechubar patur. But on Shabbat, if he was just picking up the knife, which is never attached to the ground, and on the way he by mistake cut a vine, then so that's a case for Abaye where it's a similar case. In both, it's totally unawares. Yes, yet regarding chelib, he's chayab, and regarding Shabbat, it would be patur. But in your case, Abaye would say to Rava, where I meant to cut something, and turns out I cut something prohibited. I thought it was a permitted cutting. There, he would say that would be hayab and would not agree. And so you have here a fundamental distinction between two different levels of what being unaware is, and you can probably just imagine the applications of this regarding motion detectors and all kinds of other things on Shabbat. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.